Scal, how we doing this week?
I'm doing well. You guys?
We're doing okay. We just played a clip from you on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday or the day prior. You put a percentage on the return of Joe Mazzulla at 65 to 70%. Why? I guess why such a percentage that you believe he may not return? 35% you believe that he may not return.
Have you seen some of the coaches that have gotten fired this year? I mean, like really accomplished coaches that have been to NBA Finals, have won Coach of the Year. So nothing besides Eric Spoelstra and Mike Malone. I don't want to say. I feel like every coach is on the hot seat. It seems like.
So you put those percentages on Mazzulla. Could you give us percentages, Scal, for whether Jaylen Brown will be in a Celtics uniform to begin next year?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I think the biggest thing with that, and I'm just being honest, is like, I don't know where the ownership group is at as far as do they want to continue to pay the tax? If Jaylen Brown, does he get the Supermax contract? If he does, just understand, if you got two Supermax guys, it's really hard to even flirt with the tax. So, you're entering into a very, very different world. You're entering into a world where you got two guys and you just try to fit guys with minimums and maybe some rookie scale guys. So that's, to me, and I know people shouldn't look at it like that. Like I look at it this way, and maybe I shouldn't, but it's a spending issue. And it's not a spending issue like the Celtics ownerships are cheap. It's a spending issue as in, where do you want to be next year, the following year, 5 years from now? Like, I think those are legit questions. And you have, with Jaylen Brown's salary and Jason Tatum's salary next year, you do have a chance to still stay below it if you do some things. But after that, if they're on your team, I don't know if you're going to be able to stay below that. And then it's out of the time to say, in the NBA, if you do have a Supermax, redundancy is sometimes maybe difficult to have. Maybe you need, a big and a wing, and maybe you need to split up a $55 million contract between three players. So it's just all about spending. But if there was a no tax, I'm pretty sure Jaylen Brown would be on the Celtics.
If that's true, and the Celtics do go forward with the Supermax, and then obviously they'd have to do it with Tatum too, I think that's the obvious next step there, Scal. How would you assess that kind of investment versus what it looked like back in 2019 when the team kind of decided these are the two guys that we're going to base our future on? Now it's time to really spend that money. How would you sort of rank that assessment compared to what it was back in 2019?
So here's the difference between what I always believed and what other people believed. And I could be wrong on this one. Like, I always believed the answer was Tatum and Brown, even when they were young. I said, those guys got to develop. But we always felt like, okay, let's go get Kyrie. Okay, let's go get Kemba. Now, when Ime here and Brad took over, it seems like they're going down that road. But that road would probably include like a Derek White, but not include like a Malcolm Brogdon, and I don't know about Marcus Smart. Like there's just a lot of discussions with that. So when I look at that, do I say, are they good enough as wing players to win with a bunch of minimum guys or rookie scale guys? My answer is yes. I'm just not sure what their answer is. I think with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and minimum guys, I think that they could get to that level where you can win a championship. And that's not all minimum. Like, let's call Al Horford's a really good deal. Robert Williams a really good deal. But the world of having another $20 million player might not exist anymore. But I believe in those guys. If you gave them the ball all year long, I believe that they would develop into what we want them to be by the end of the year. But it doesn't seem to be the philosophy of the Boston Celtics.
If you're Jaylen Brown and the Celtics are hesitant to give you the Supermax, and you're not reporting that, Scal, you're not saying they would be, just if they are. If you're Jaylen Brown, would you take less than the Supermax?
Well, just understand that you could sign a 5-year extension for 30%. You don't have to give the full 35. So,
right, but would you, if you were Jaylen, would you do that?
Yeah, I take 30%. 30% of the cap, a 5-year extension off of my 30. I mean, I don't know what type of financial situation Jaylen Brown is in. Like, I know he's already made $100 million, but you're talking $40 million or more with 5% raises. So you're ending up at 52. I'm rolling with that. Like, if I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm signing a 5-year, $220 million on a 30%. I ain't turning that down. So
Like,
I wouldn't, nor would I be offended. I might be offended privately, but I'm definitely signing that contract.
Well, so fine. And like, I know it's a lot of money, but it is on some level kind of a slap in the face. You just said you might be offended privately.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he can't get that somewhere else. So remember, guys nowadays sign, and then a year later they add, like if he signs. So just to be clear here, you guys understand, if he does sign a Supermax extension at 30%, he can't be traded for a year.
Correct.
So he's in bed with the Celtics for a year. So it's not like he could sign it and be like, I want to be traded. He is on the Boston Celtics next year. So, and let's just say, like, you're all using these hypotheticals, so I'll use the hypothetical. Let's say in a year from now, he's like, I want to be my own guy. I want to be the guy. Then a year from now, you could trade, and you would still have 5 more years at $220 million. Like, you take the security in that situation.
So, Scal, this is going back probably a week now, so I don't know if you even remember the context of all of this, but there was a moment after that awful Game 3 loss when everybody thought the team was basically at rock bottom, and there were these reports coming out, these rumors, even some video that looked like an exchange between Wick and Mazzulla, and some speculation about where the relationship was there. Did you sense that behind the scenes there was any tension between ownership and the head coach? And if so, is that in a different place now that they're heading into the off season?
I mean, I didn't sense any of that. I heard the video. I heard there was a video. I've never seen the video. Have you guys seen the video? I haven't seen the video.
I haven't.
But yeah, I mean, I could see where an ownership that's, that was promised somewhat. You never can promise an NBA championship, but you kind of expect to not lose to an 8 seed when you're the Boston Celtics and supposed to win a championship this year. So I would, I think this is I don't think there's a lot of coaches out there that are in a position now where they're like, well, we can have an off year. Like, big time coaches are getting fired. So I think, like, this is a different environment when it comes to coaches. So yeah, I can see there being a tough relationship when you're down 3-0 to the Miami Heat and a series that most people think you should win. Yeah, I could see something like that.
Is it fair to categorize this as an off year?
Oh yeah, I think this is a failure. Like, I think their inconsistencies came back to bite them, and I think that like all that talk of, man, we were really devastated last year by the finals, and we all put the work in. You guys remember all that stuff, right? That stuff to me, when you're that inconsistent as a team, that's lip service. Like, I'll give you a great example. The San Antonio Spurs lost on that Ray Allen shot to Miami. If you know any of the stories behind that group, the following year, they were a team possessed. And Greg Popovich used that moment every single day, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day. And it's a fascinating experiment because, like, a lot of people thought when they lost they were done, and yet they came back and they were a team possessed. How about, I'll just ask you guys, and we're all being honest here, like, did this group look like a team possessed? Not really.
Not at all.
Maybe like in the Space Jam sense.
Yeah, kind of. Some nights it did look like that. But, yeah, I mean, so to me, that was a lot of lip service. Like, it wasn't a redemption tour. It wasn't unfinished business. It wasn't any of those things. So, and that comes down to, I don't know if that's players. And I know, like, the stuff coming out, you guys don't know what this group went through. Maybe they went through a lot. Like, like, maybe there'll be a lot of stuff that comes out in the next month or so. But I just felt like this team should have won a championship. I've never seen a group this talented with this much versatility in a league that values wing versatility. They had it all. So I think this is a huge failure.
Scal, what'd you think of Malcolm Brogdon's comments? He had a lot to say about the team last year that he wasn't even on, and he went on and on and on about all these different things and their identity. It seemed like a lot for a first-year player, a guy on the team for the first year to be saying, and he's owed a lot of money too. What was your overall takeaway from Brogdon's post-game there?
Yeah, it was a little strange for a guy who didn't play and then only played a couple minutes. I think he wanted to clear the air about his injury, come out and say it. The media does some weird things like, hey, Joe, do you guys lack a defensive identity? And Joe would say, yeah, we lack a defensive identity. Then they would turn around and say, Joe said you guys, lack a defensive identity. He was kind of led on to that. So if in his world, if it's not his words, be careful on that of letting the media decide what they tell you. You could say, some nights we were amazing. We were a top 5 defensive team in the regular season, and some nights we were off. We just got to find a way to be more consistent versus saying, yes, we lack a defensive identity, because that became the rallying cry, and all of a sudden Malcolm Brogdon's talking about it. So I kind of agree with you. It's weird that he came out and said something, but I do think it's very strange that the Celtics got baited into lack of defensive identity.
All right. He is Brian Scalabrine. He's been joining us all week, each and every week during Celtics season. Scal, thanks so much. Enjoy the time off, and hopefully we talk to you next year.
Later, Scal.
All right. Sounds good. See you.